There you are! Welcome back to another thrilling installment of the most disturbing videos on the internet today. For context, don't believe anything you hear or see on this video. This is strictly theories for entertainment purposes only, not factual. Without further ado, let's dive straight in.
How did the settlers of Easter Island move the legendary Moai statues? Their own legends claim they used magic, chanting to make the statues walk, which is low-key sounding like a better explanation than what modern science has. Estimated between 400 to 700 AD, the first settlers arrived on this tiny island called Rapa Nui, until a European Dutchman arrived on the island on his rickety-ass ship. This Dutchman landed on Rapa Nui in 1722 on Easter Day and hence called it Easter Island. Real creative, guys. Rapa Nui sounds way better, I'ma just call it that. According to local legend, Rapa Nui was discovered on an expedition by a man named Hotumatua from a land called Hiva, thought to be Nuku Hiva in modern-day French Polynesia, which by the way is about 3,600 kilometers away, using nothing but wood canoes and knowledge of the stars, no instruments, traveling for weeks on end to find a tiny island with no known motivation for the journey. Not saying it's impossible, just a lot of historians agree it's a bit of a stretch, so take it up with them. And yes, I understand, Polynesians were incredible seafaring navigators, just the same as Egyptians were likely amazing architects. Remember, these are just theories that inspire us to think differently from the mainstream narrative, so if you can't handle them, you should have scrolled. The story goes, Hotumatua landed on the island with his team and started settling in, when all of a sudden, he realized he forgot to bring a Moai statue, the name given to the famous statue heads, from his homeland of Hiva where these statues were made to this new island. Another red flag, because present-day Nuku Hiva literally only has one Moai statue on it, so where did they all go? Hotumatua sent 6 of his men to go back home and bring back the statue by canoe. While loading the statue, the men accidentally broke it into 2 pieces. Oops. Now Hotu had a vision of this accident and he started tweaking, so he went to the beach and waited for the 6 men to come back and found the head of the statue washed ashore. From thousands of kilometers away. The 6 men were never to be seen again. Their legend claims that the statue had arrived there through magical levitation powers and served as a model to build all other Moai statues on the island. Overall, they made a total of 887 of these statues that surround the entire island, using compressed volcanic ash from the island's volcano Rano Raraku. Now, the big question is, how the flip did they move these things in place? Modern science claims methods used, such as walking, tying ropes to the statue's head and swinging it side to side, as well as rolling them on logs of wood, could have worked. And they do. We've proven them many times with experiments all around the world. Just one problem. The heaviest Moai statue we've been able to move in these experiments was 10 tons. But Rapa Nui, the original name given to Easter Island, has Moais that are up to 86 tons, almost 9 times what we've been able to replicate, as well as an unfinished one that was supposed to be around 270 tons. Not to mention, in 2012, an excavation project revealed that these statues have full-ass bodies underneath them and only 3/8 of them are sticking above the ground. So how did they move them? Why did they bury them so deep? We out here struggling to figure out how they did it. Meanwhile, the Rapa Nui people themselves are saying, hey bro, we used magic. An explanation that is seen repeated among the myths of almost every other ancient structure around the world, such as the Mayan and Egyptian pyramids. Given the Rapa Nui techniques as we currently explain them, it would have taken them over a year to carve a single Moai. Not to mention actually moving them on top of farming, building homes, and regular day-to-day survival tasks of their reported population of around 3,000 people. Some historians claim it would have taken them way longer than the alleged 1,000 or so years to make 900 of these things. More on that, the name that Rapa Nui gave these statues was Aringa Ora Ata Tepuna, roughly translating to the living faces of our holy ancestors, which almost sounds like they were trying to hint at being descendants of some previous civilization. Now, I'm not saying at all that the Rapa Nui people didn't do any of this. In fact, I agree with them. Their myths almost make more sense than our modern explanations. Traveling nearly 4,000 kilometers by sea with no known motivation, finding a tiny island like a needle in a haystack in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, carving and moving nearly 900 Moai statues, some of which weigh up to 90 tons, using nothing but wooden canoes, knowledge of the stars, ropes, logs, and stone tools is questionable to say the least. Accepting our current explanations of ancient history as the end-all and be-all ultimate 100% truth of what actually happened, and if you question it you should be cancelled and exiled from society, is a very close-minded way of thinking. What I'm saying is, what if ancient Polynesians were even smarter than we thought, and had technology far more advanced than we could have ever imagined? And Easter Island, Hiva, and the surrounding Pacific Islands were once part of a greater civilization with these advanced technologies that allowed them to achieve these amazing feats, that maybe got washed away by some global cataclysm, leaving behind only tiny islands sprawled throughout the Pacific, which they continue to defiantly explore. I talk about this 8th lost continent of Mu that could explain this in a previous video that got a lot of people mad. And again, I'm not saying any of this is true, it's just a crackpot what if theory, so tear my ass up in the comments.
It is an interesting theory, but like I said, I would believe the locals and what they say over what mainstream says. A statue that weighs 80 tons, moving it by hands, rocking it back and forth. How many of them would they break trying to do that process, and how many would it take? If you ask me, it was either airships or giants that moved those statues.
Going near the water destroys demons. When you go in the water, this particularly disrupts the demonic flow, which is one of the reasons why we're told to go wash ourselves in living waters in the Bible. When you go into the water, and even just being near the water, you increase your body's ability to detox as well as ground and get rid of the negative ions, the negative electricity that we hold on to typically from our devices and the things that are in the air. This is why you feel so good after a good day at the beach or just an hour or two. Your body is able to detox, remineralize, absorb the minerals, especially when you go in the water. And this is why you're able to feel normal again after you go hang out next to some water. Your serotonin, your dopamine, your GABA, all these things that make you feel normal are being stimulated when you go out near or in the water particularly. So if you haven't started to go outside regularly and get to the forest, which is for rest, or if you haven't started to go down to the local river and get yourself right, can I go ahead and place an altar call? The best thing that you can do, I would tell you, get down to the local river and seek the Lord. Don't go to your church. You're going to get a lot more physically and spiritually out of the river as long as you go into it with the correct mindset.
Man, that just made me realize I haven't been to a beach in probably about 10 years. When was the last time you went to the beach or was sitting next to some water? I wonder if a boat ride could do the same thing. Secret government caves. Drive to any country you want. They're trying to hide this from us.
Right. They asked me to show you this. But this is a subtropolis. You don't know about this place. Show the outside of this place. It's got this fake truck stop right here. Look, let me show you. Brand new Pilot PJ Fresh, so you know it's new. This is all the truck parking there is here. This truck stop ain't meant for sleeping. I'll show you what's on the back side of this truck stop. This is what they don't show you. Look. It goes right into the caves. You go through the truck stop and you get into these caves that go any country you can get to these caves. I'll take you to the entrance. I tried to get fuel here once in the truck and I can't get a fuel card that'll work here. It's not for sleeping. That place right there, it's not for sleeping. Start fueling up and going over here. Look, I'll show you these flags of every country you can get to through this tunnel. That's the entrance right there. I've been in there before, but security chased me. There's security right there too. But look at all the countries you can get to.
He tried, man, or else he'll drive in there. He said, we've been through this before. Security got me. What a soldier, man.
From inside that cave. From inside this cave here too. Right there. All these countries you can get to from right here.
Think about it. Why would they have those flags right there?
Inside there. I've been in there before. I wanted to film in there, so I brought my wife and my kids with me so they wouldn't arrest me. They just thought we were looking for something cool to look at. It goes in all the way, miles and miles, and then it breaks off. There's stores, there's everything you need down there. Right there. And someone's coming right there. Yeah, they'll chase you out. They don't talk about this place out there. They don't talk about the fake truck stop. Fake railroad tracks right here. This gate closes here. There's two different gates here. There's like a little gate there you'd see in a house, and then there's gates here. It's really weird. If you try to park your truck right there, there's a security guard right there in that police thing. They won't let you park your truck there unless you can prove you got business. How do you prove that? Gotta get to work.
I got a lot of truck drivers that watch my show, and I support you guys, and I'm a truck driver myself. I got my Class B. If anybody has any more information about that, drop it in the comments below. What's really going on in these underground tunnels?
Two of them, yes, they're mortal and they do die.
In 1994, Phil started giving lectures about government cover-ups, black projects, and UFOs. He's been saying somebody is chasing him, and he knew that they were out to get him. He did not realize what all was down there until he ran into these beings, and he had this incident at an underground military base in Dulce, New Mexico in 1979. Phil would say that back in 1954, under President Eisenhower's administration, allegedly, the federal government actually decided to form a treaty with the alien entities, which I don't know how that works, but nevertheless, Phil actually said that this treaty was named the Greada Treaty, which basically made the agreement that the aliens involved could take cows and test their implanting techniques on a few human beings as well. But they had to provide all the details that they collected back to the government. Now, according to Phil, they completely did whatever that they wanted to do, and this is what he said led to the Dulce attack in 1979 that gave him his injuries. The rumors about Dulce, New Mexico are really far out there. I mean, I was so down the rabbit holes. The rumors about this small town is that on the surface, there's not a lot to see, but underneath the surface, there are unimaginable experiments and technologies that are going on beneath. Now, when Phil was telling his story, he would go on to say that they had to drill like 4 distinct holes in the desert, and they were going to link these holes together and blow out large sections at a time. Phil would say that his job was to go down in the holes and to check the rock samples. Phil was actually known to be an explosive expert. He was able to look at the rock and tell how porous it was and what kind of explosive would be best, and so that's what he was hired to do. Phil said on this particular day, he was headed down there and that he found himself in like this large cavern that was full of outer space aliens, or otherwise known as these like large grays.
In this process, I was lowered down the basket of one of these holes, and about from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot tall alien gray. The stench was
7 foot?
worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine. The person was the entity was absolutely horrible. Our United States government lied to not tell us anything about the alien threat.
He said afterwards, this is when he realized or learned that aliens were not only here on the earth, but that they have been here for millions of years. Phil also said that because he was shot with cobalt radiation, that is what he ended up getting from later. Phil says that he ended up spending 2 years recuperating from his injuries, which, yeah, it looked terrible. Phil had several health issues. He had chronic lower back pain, and he also had multiple sclerosis. Because of this, Phil sometimes had to use crutches, a body brace, leg braces, and a catheter and a wheelchair. And he also had in his arms, and he had many wounds, and he had a metal plate in his head, and he had missing fingers on the left hand. And the biggest scar is a scar that Phil had that ran from the top of his throat all the way down below his belly button, and he had another scar under his ribs. Now, critics say that none of this ever happened, and that, as a matter of fact, Phil had very serious mental issues. He was even diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he was even put into a mental institution from 1968 to 1969 to be treated for it. They say that under stress, Phil would actually himself, and they even said, y'all, that his 2 fingers and his thumbs by himself. Now, come on. According to Phil's now ex-wife, Cynthia, she believes that Phil started lecturing because of the death of his very good friend, Ron Rummel. The police actually ruled his death as a ending of it all by putting a arm in his mouth. However, in the police report, it is noted that there is blowback on Ron's hand, but not on the actual firearm. Because of this, Phil got really suspicious because Phil and Ron had been working on a magazine project called Alien Digest together. The magazine had recently become super popular and was getting talked about a lot. Phil believed that that is why his friend Ron was ended by somebody else, but however ruled an ending of it all, if you guys know what I'm saying here. And Phil also believed that the reason why Ron was taken out was so he would not expose any more government cover-ups. So Cynthia said that Phil felt like it was time to spread the word more than ever and started giving lectures. In one of Phil's lectures from May of 1995, Phil claimed that his father was involved in the infamous Philadelphia experiment. Now, if you guys have never heard about this, whoa, okay. This Philadelphia experiment was allegedly an experiment where this humongous United States Navy ship is out in the ocean, and allegedly the military is trying to make it disappear, like go invisible, in order to better, fight in wars and stuff. So they're using this like electrical, like generators, magnetic field in order to make this ship become invisible. And it almost becomes invisible with this green smoke. Everybody's getting nauseous. The people that are performing this like experiment are like, whoa, this almost worked. Let's try it again. And when they do, and this magnetic field goes around this boat again, or this ship, when the ship comes back, some of the crew members are embedded in the metal structure of the ship. This is when allegedly like very, very, very serious side effects started taking over the crew. Some rematerialized inside out and others completely vanished forever. This drove them completely insane. The U.S. Navy completely denies this, and it's far out there to think about it. Phil says that when his father passed away in 1993, that this is when he discovered original letters in his basement that allegedly proved that the Philadelphia experiment actually happened. We could go real deep into Phil Schneider's father and the top secret projects that he worked on, like the Philadelphia project, but we're going to keep on moving here. Allegedly, Phil's father worked on this experiment. They also allegedly proved that Oscar Schneider, Phil's father, had been a participant after the crew members had been quarantined in a Virginia psychiatric ward. Allegedly, Captain Schneider, Phil's father, actually autopsied the bodies of the crew members as they died and found alien implants in their arms, legs, behind their eyes, and deep inside their brains. Phil said that this was evidence that either by accident or on purpose, aliens were involved in the Philadelphia experiment and may have been responsible for its failure. 2 years into giving his lectures, something terrible happened to Phil. On January 17th of 1996, Phil was found dead in his apartment, where he had apparently been dead there for several days to even a week. His body was found in a very unusual position. It was also said that that was found on his wheelchair. However, when you looked at Phil's body, there was no open wounds where that could have came from. And initially, when he was found, it was ruled that he had died from a stroke or a heart attack. But then when his body was taken to the funeral home, the mortician noticed that a catheter tube was wrapped around his neck 3 times and tied off, and his body was bloated. So it went from him having a stroke or a heart attack to him ending his own life by him wrapping his own catheter 3 times around his neck. Everybody that knew him, his wife, his best friend, I listened to his wife speak too, they all said he would not have done this. But the best friend said that because of him missing those 3 fingers and there's no way he could have wrapped it around and tied it the way that it was tied anyways. Now, from when this first happened, Phil's ex-wife, Cynthia, said that the circumstances surrounding Phil's death was very suspicious. Now, even though the two of them had a divorce, they were still very close and they were like best friends. So when Cynthia had found out that he passed away and she called down to the funeral home to find out information, first of all, they would not let her see his body at all. No matter what she did, they never let her see his body, which she thought was suspicious, but okay, what are you going to do? When she was going over the autopsy report, she saw that the way that they talked about Phil's genitals was completely wrong because he had had an injury there too. I'm not going to get into too many details, but the autopsy report stated that it was completely intact. And when she saw that, she knew that either whoever did this autopsy on him was either completely incompetent or they didn't really do it and they were just kind of going through the motions. And she also said that in the state of Oregon, when a person passes away in a home, an investigation immediately has to happen. But because they ruled it an ending of it all, they didn't do like a full investigation at first. So she started to dig. When she went to his house, all of his lecture materials, all of his alien materials, the notes that he had for his alien book agenda, all of it was missing. Whoever came to his house didn't come there to rob it for money. They came there and took all of his documents. She also said that her husband, Philip, was an expert in chemicals and his own medical needs, and that he had multiple pills at hand that he could have just quickly and painlessly if he wanted to. And he also had a firearm that he had borrowed to protect himself because he had had all these people following him and running him off the road. So why in the world would he strangle himself in such an unusual manner? He fought to live. Everything that he had been through, he wanted to live. Cynthia is actually still fighting to have Phil's death certificate changed to reflect that he was murdered, and that she hopes that things that were stolen from Phil's apartment can be returned one day to his daughter Marie. Lastly, she also said that she hopes that the world will come to know the truth about aliens, UFOs, the government cover-ups, black budgets, and how they're affecting everyday people. I think that Phil's story is very interesting. I definitely believe that he saw some things, and I believe that he believed everything that he said. I also believe that there are secrets going on in that part of the world, in Dulce, New Mexico. And I do believe that there's a base there. And one of the things that really makes me believe that there's something going on there is the locals. The locals that live there, there's so many interviews from the people that live there that have been there for their whole entire lives, that have seen things. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is secret government.
If you want the truth, always talk to the locals. They'll tell you what's up.
Base where they're doing all kinds of experiments underground. I don't know what's going on there, but I definitely believe something is going on down there. And I believe it's dark. And I believe it's probably not good. There are so many people's stories like this. Is everybody lying? Does everybody have issues? I don't know. He was diagnosed allegedly with schizophrenia, but also at the same time, a lot of people that come out and say these things get labeled as certain mental illnesses. Other than that, I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for listening, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.
Huge shout out to Christina Randolph for this video. This video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe anything you hear or see on this video. It is not factual.
Was this person accidentally eavesdropping on a conversation at the Galactic Federation? This story is so crazy and also so cool. Please watch this and let me know what you think in the comments.
I wasn't sure I was going to share this story, and for the past few days I've been pondering it over and over whether I should, because I'm nervous, but you know what? I'm just going to do it, so here we go. The other night I woke up on my couch again at 2:22. Not uncommon, as a lot of you know. I made my way into my kitchen because I needed some water. As I was walking into my kitchen, I felt this overwhelming sense of my body getting extremely hot. When I got to this spot where I'm standing right now, the only way I can describe it is I felt my body tense up. I felt my hands get rigid. I felt my fingers go out like this. And then all of a sudden, my head just locked, facing upwards. Now, the only thing I can describe after this moment is I was aware that I was in my body. I was aware that I was in my kitchen. But the only way I can describe this is I felt like I was now in a room, like a meeting, like I somehow had just transported to a place where a very important meeting was going on. Now, in that moment, I didn't know what was being said, but I picked up on an energy of there was a side of optimism and there was a side of pessimists. Those are two words, English words, that I know that described the energy that I was feeling. In that moment, I was listening and I couldn't understand what was happening. So I thought, I don't know how it came out, but I said, hello. And in that moment, all of the voices that I was hearing just stopped. My body relaxed, and then I was back in my kitchen. Ooh, I'm shaking now telling this. I looked over, and Cooper, my dog, was sitting at the end of the couch just staring at me. And I looked at him and I was like, did you see that? So in that moment, I felt my body get hot again. My whole body stiffened up again. And then my head did the thing where it just locked up, and I knew that I was in my body, but now I was back in this council, this board meeting, and I could hear them saying things like, it's starting. They're waking up. I felt the energy of arrival, of ascension, all of these things, and I could hear these words, and I said, hello again. The conversation stopped again. Then all of a sudden I heard what I assumed to be a male-like voice say, how are they here? In that moment, my body completely relaxed again, and I was fully in my kitchen. Now my dog was sitting on the end of the ottoman, just perked up, staring at me. Still don't know how to process what happened, but in that moment, I felt my body getting hot again, and I felt myself getting rigid again, and I tried to fight it. I tried wiggling my fingers, I tried doing all these things, but nothing was working, and all of a sudden, I was back in that board meeting, that council meeting, that whatever I was, and I could hear them talking again. And I could hear a woman saying, they're waking up. They're starting to wake up. And then all of a sudden I said, once again, I can hear you. They all got quiet. And as clear as I am speaking to you now, I heard another female-like voice say, this one is more powerful than we thought, and the rest of them will start waking up very soon. Now, that's when my body relaxed and I was back in my kitchen, and I haven't known if I was going to share this with you because I know someone will believe and some won't believe, but that's totally okay. I just want this to get to who it needs to get to because my last video, you guys helped me find who I needed to find. So I'll say for entertainment purposes only, but I hope this is enough to encourage and inspire you guys to share your story because I need to figure out what happened to me because that was unlike anything I've ever experienced.
I don't know how or why, but animals can always sense that type of stuff. That's all we got for today's video. If you made it this far, go ahead and drop the Saturday vibes in the comments below. When you drop Saturday vibes in the comments, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the video. Even if you don't, and you watch these videos and you at least hit me with the like and subscribe, I appreciate you guys. I just want to say thank you. I love you. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you later.